If you're a data person, what are the signs that you're ready for a promotion? So we're going to do a little tea drinking, relaxing video on this topic today. Um, the reality is that your boss is actually the main person whose opinion matters here. And it's less about what you think and whether you think the signs are there that you're ready to move up versus your boss does. But in certain circumstances, or actually just in general, it's not the best idea to start a conversation about this topic with your boss until you've got a reasonable expectation that you're doing good at your job, right? There's a process from going from being good at your job to actually promoted. If you're not at the level where you're good at your job, then you wanna make sure that you're there first before you start promotion conversations. You wanna be reasonably confident that they're gonna be open to the conversation. Not that any manager shouldn't be open to any type of career conversation at any point, but if you want to walk in being more pointed about it, then you should be more confident that you're doing a good job. So here are some ways that you can judge for yourself whether you are in a good place to start talking to your boss about getting a promotion. And by the way, getting a promotion is one very specific career development conversation. You should be having career development conversations in general with your boss. And many things should happen between the time that you started a job or start in a new role and are ready to have these conversations. I'll talk a little bit more at the end about some of the other conversations that are important to have. So firstly, I've got a career growth framework that I'm about to share with you. And then depending on where you fall in that career growth framework, you've got a pretty strong case to make that you should be at the title in that growth framework that reflects the job that you're doing. So the career growth framework has two stages. Stage number one is junior to senior. And when you're at junior to senior, the primary thing that you're working on is improving your personal skill set. So this is, and very specifically, as you go from junior to mid-level to senior, at a junior level, the expectation is that you can do standard data work with guidance. Mid-level is that you can do standard work without guidance. And then at the senior level, the expectation is that you can do complex, high-level work without guidance. And the way that you can tell where your skill set is there, what is complex work and what isn't complex work, is look at all the projects that your team has done over the last year. And I would split it by complexity into bottom 50%, 50 to 90, and then 90 to 100, maybe 95 to 100. Bottom 50% is the simple work. So that's the basic queries, the random stuff that everybody should be able to do pretty independently, even junior data folks. The mid-level stuff, the 50 to 90%, that's your sort of standard work, where at a junior level, the expectation is that you need a little help and guidance to do that kind of work. And then at the mid-level, the expectation is that you can do that independently. And then you've got the top tier of work, where at the mid-level, junior people probably don't even get those projects. Mid-level people do get those projects occasionally, but they generally need some guidance from more senior folks to make sure that they're on the right track. And then the senior folks are the ones that can do that type of work independently. And to be clear, data work is almost never completely independent. You don't work, you're always connected to other people doing work, right? If you're a data engineer and you're working on a data pipeline, someone's using that data pipeline, you need to be interfacing with them. So this is less about being isolated when you do the work. This is more about the part of the work that you're supposed to do. You are able to do that work with your own personal skills. And that's the path from junior to senior. Caveats, if you have a certain specialty, and so if you looked at 100 projects and you have certain people that work in recommendation systems that are recommendation systems experts and you're not, but you still do high level work in other domains. The fact that you wouldn't necessarily do the high level work everywhere, you can still be senior. It's more about like in the domain that you're supposed to focus on, can you do more senior level work? By the way, this is why also data people aren't always necessarily going to stay at the same level. Like you might be a senior data person for a certain type of work, but if you go get a job and that job does different work, like you might not even be able to operate at a senior level anymore. You're going to have to develop yourself until you can operate at a senior level again. You might keep the title, and oftentimes you do keep the title, but just for your own pegging of where you are on your development path for a specific job, it's important to recognize that if you're senior and you're not doing or able to do that high level work, then you should focus on being able to do that work as quickly as possible. But that's stage number one. Stage number one is about your personal skill set. Stage number two in this career growth framework for data people is how broad of an impact you can have across your company and your industry. So I'll use some titles here, but frankly, titles stop becoming as much of a thing when you get to this level. But at the lowest level above senior, you'll have generally like a lead type of title. And a title like that, it reflects the fact that you are leading at a team level, where you are setting the agenda, you are creating, you're setting the bar for the team, you're mentoring people on the team. Because you're there, it's not just your personal work that you execute at a high level, but you're bringing up the whole team with you. That's like the next level above senior is lead. Above that would be, principal or staff, or again, like titles stop being a thing at this point as much. Every company will have different titles, but that's where you're not just leading, you might not be managing people, but you're leading the team. At the next level, you start to lead like your division. And then at the next level, you start to lead like at the company level or even at your industry level. Are there people that are your customers buying from your company because of your data expertise? There are many businesses that have data people where the answer is yes. These data people are the reason that we have all of these customers that are coming to us instead of our competition. And that's why at the most senior level, data people can be so valuable. And it's understandable why if you're doing that, you're going to be considered more senior than someone who is simply leading their team, right? It's different levels of impact. And again, one of the things here is one of the good things about this framework is it's pretty straightforward. The more impact that you're able to have, the more senior you're going to be. And in general, getting promoted is a lagging indicator of your impact. Let's go on to point number 2. So you should be doing a great job, not okay or decent. If you're not doing a great job, if you're like, I'm doing an okay job, it's probably not a good idea to start a promotions conversation with your manager. You should definitely start a conversation about how to go from okay to great, but you're unlikely to get a promotion if you think you're only doing okay. All right, next one, number 3, your coworkers respect you and would understand if you moved up and they didn't. Career decisions are not made in a vacuum. If you're a data leader, you've got a team, and there are going to be established levels of performance at different levels of that team. So if you're going to have senior people and mid-level people and junior people, and frankly, everybody wants things to pretty much make sense. Nobody wants to have someone on their team get promoted way beyond their capabilities, and then the rest of the team needs to backstop that person or builds resentment because this person has got this very senior position. Meanwhile, you see every day that their work is not at the level that they are in the organization. That is not good for the team. So every single data leader is going to look to your performance versus where people are on the team. And the expectation is that if there are a couple of analysts and you think you're ready to move up to senior analyst, would most other people understand that? If the answer is yes, then great. And if you're doing a great job, if your point number 2 of you're doing a great job is checked off, overwhelmingly that's going to be fine. Occasionally you have bitter coworkers or whatever who feel weird about you moving up when you're doing a great job and they don't, but that part doesn't really matter so much. In general, everybody supports it. And in fact, I find that way more often it's the other way. Everybody on the team knows who is doing a great job. And so if you've got someone who is doing amazing and they are at a level below where they should be, everybody on the team wants that person to be at a level that is accurate compared to the impact that they're having. So that has been my experience, and that is point number 3. If you've got these 3 items, then you're in a great spot to have that promotion conversation and have it even be something potentially for the short term to move up. I've actually got a course where I created it. It's got so many details on this. It's 4 hours long, and it goes from how to go from good at your job to actually promoted. As of filming this in August of 2024, it's free, although I've been considering starting to charge some small amount of money for it because it's 4 hours long, and I feel like having people pay a small amount of money will get some commitment to actually care about it. If you're a data person and it's not worth it to spend a couple bucks on a 4-hour thing on how to get a promotion that's going to get you a lot of money, then you probably wouldn't even watch it for free, right? But for right now, it's free. It goes step by step through the process of going from good at your job to actually promoted. And there's a link in the comments. So go get it for free while it's still free. No commitment that if you watch this video 2 years from now that it's still going to be free. But at least for a little while, I'll keep it free because I said it in this video. So if you follow me and you like my content, then you get the early adopter freebie. Anyways, I hope this video was helpful in judging whether you're close enough to the next level to start a promotion conversation. But regardless, even if after this video you're I don't know if I'm exactly there, you should be having career conversations with your manager. It is literally their job to help you develop. And it's good for them, and it's good for you, it's good for the company, it's good for everybody. Every manager, every data leader wants to have their team doing amazing work. They want to have you driving a lot of success in the business to the point that it is unreasonable not to promote you. It's funny, so many people get this wrong, especially if your exposure to corporate America has mostly been through television shows and movies growing up. You actually, so many people think that you get the promotion and then you start doing the job. It is reverse. You start doing the job and then at some point you get promoted. And this is true for IC level. This is even true for managers, right? The best way to get promoted to be a manager isn't to hope that you get picked to be a manager. It's to start managing people when your title doesn't say manager. And then at some point, eventually, your company, you're going to go and you're going to say to your boss, hey, so I'm managing these people and I'd like to make it official and get a manager title. And you know what they're going to say? That is a totally reasonable request because in fact you are managing people, so it is normal that you would expect that your title is manager. That is totally different conversation. And you're doing a good job managing these people and they want to keep you managing these people. Totally different conversation than, hey, I've never managed someone before, but I want you to have me up and become a manager, right? Not that those conversations don't happen ever, but 90% of the time, in my experience, people do the job first and then make it official. That kind of makes sense, right? if you want to go, and even as an individual contributor, if you want to go from a junior person to a mid-level, you have this career development framework. So at a junior level, you should do simple work independently and standard work with guidance. If you're still needing guidance at the level that you're at, then you're still junior. And when you stop needing guidance, there's going to be a period where you're operating at the level of a mid-level data person. And that is the proof that you're doing already the next level job. And then at some point that becomes official. But if the expectation is you're already trying to do as good of a job as possible at all times. Changing your title shouldn't change the fact that you're trying to do your best. And so if your best currently is not at the level of where you would expect to be, then you should keep going. It doesn't mean you're doing bad. It just means you're not ready to move up. So I hope this was helpful. And check out the free course. And one of the things that is amazing about data work, especially for individual contributors, managers, it gets a little more complicated because there are org chart implications. But for individual contributors, it's sort of on you. You can have as much of an impact as you can. You do as good of a job as possible. And then based on the impact that you have, you can continue rising in your career. So anyways, that's it. Take care.